Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Parent and Community Advisory Session for District 6. I am Dr. Sheila Jackson, Director of our Department of Family and Community Partnerships, and I am so honored to welcome all of you to this very important session where you get to hear from and have your questions answered by our Interim Superintendent, Dr. Sean Joseph. To get us started, I would like to turn things over to Dr. Jennifer Love, who will introduce our simultaneous interpretation and ASL interpretation sessions.
Thank you, Dr. Jackson. Good evening, everyone. You should know that we are happy to be able to make this session accessible. Interpreting services are available. Interpreting services are available in American Sign Language. You're able to pin the American Sign Language interpreter. Servicios de interpretación también están disponibles en español. Simultaneous interpretation is also available in Spanish. Next slide, please. En una computadora, en la parte baja de la pantalla, habrá un globo de interpretación. Haga clic en ese globo y seleccione Spanish. You'll tap Language Interpretation y tap Spanish. En un dispositivo móvil, en la parte baja de la pantalla, toca el icono de elipsis en la parte baja derecha. Toque Language Interpretation y toque Spanish. Gracias.
Thank you, Dr. Love. We're inviting everyone who joins us tonight to please sign in. In the chat box, we will drop a link for you. We would like for you to utilize that link to sign in, let us know who's here, and it gives us additional information so that we can reach back out to you and share not only notes from this meeting, but also make sure that you're invited to other family engagement activities. Next slide, please. So please take time to sign in. Also, we are utilizing norms that guide our work together this evening. We ask that everyone joins us in practicing mutual respect, engaging transparently, listening for understanding, assuming positive intentions, and please offer suggestions rather than complaints. Your suggestions help us work collaboratively to address concerns. So thank you for honoring our norms tonight. Next slide. We also would like to invite you to remember these items. The session will be recorded and all recordings will be posted to the school system's YouTube page so that they will be there for others who were not able to make it tonight. We will not allow a chat in the webinar. However, you have the opportunity to utilize the Q&A feature. That will give you a chance to submit questions. And those questions will be shared directly with our interim superintendent for live response. There's also another document that we've created, and that link will also be dropped into the chat. It's an opportunity for additional questions or comments that you may have for the interim superintendent or staff. Next slide. This is how to submit a question tonight. Please look at your computer screen. There is a Q&A box or button. It might be hidden under the More button. So please take a moment to find that button on your computer. Utilize that to type your question, and then you can either send it anonymously or you can add your name to the question that you ask. And then click send, and it will enter and populate our Q&A portal so that your question can be answered in turn. Thank you. Next slide. This is our agenda. We did our best to start on time. We will end on time. And so we invite you to please be ready. We're getting ready to press the gas and get this program started tonight because we want to hear from as many of you as possible. So at this time, I would like to take a moment, first of all, to let you know that we have an evaluation at the end as well. So the evaluation gives us a chance to get additional feedback from you. Your feedback, your comments always helps us grow. So please make sure that you complete our evaluation tonight. It too will be dropped into the chat. And with all of our housekeeping done, it is my pleasure to present to you our interim superintendent, Dr. Sean Joseph. Let's welcome him. Thank you.
Hello, hello, hello. Thank you so much, Dr. Jackson, for your excellence and your leadership. And I'm just so excited to be here with District 6 tonight. I mean, what a wonderful community. And, I'm thankful to have the opportunity to be back in Prince George's County and, doing the great work. I don't know if Board Chair Jackson is with us. If so, I'd love for him to come on and bring greetings. I'm telling you, one of the reasons I chose to come back and serve as the interim is because our Board of Education is just getting it right. I mean, they're so focused on doing the right thing for this community and, really locking in to provide an invitation access and an invitation and access and provide the resources and leadership to make sure that our students get excellence by design every day. I'm just thankful for them and their hard work. Is Board Chair Jackson on?
I do not see him in the room yet, but
Okay.
we will welcome him when he comes.
Well, yes, yes. Just let me know when he comes, and we'll stop and give him an opportunity. But I know, he's a proud product of District 6 and believes in your district's capacity. I'll take a little bit to tell you a little bit about myself. If we go to the next slide, and then I'll tell you a little bit about District 6, and then open up to questions. But I've been in education since 1996. If we can just click to the next slide. Been in education since 1996. I got an education from Lincoln University, America's oldest historically Black degree granting college, founded in 1854. I went there to become a biology major because I thought I was going to go into medicine. But I met a student from South Philadelphia High School who struggled reading, and it changed the trajectory of my life. Because I just didn't understand, how do we put people on the moon and not teach children how to read in this country? And so I graduated from Lincoln with a degree in education. And then since that time, I've been an English teacher, a reading specialist, a team leader, dean of students, assistant principal, principal, all in Montgomery County, Maryland. I became a principal supervisor in Montgomery County. I spent 16 years there, and I supervised the Blair Einstein Northwood Kennedy cluster down in the Silver Spring area. Prior to going to Seaford, Delaware, to become superintendent. Did that for 2 years and then had the blessing of a lifetime to come to Prince George's County the first go around as deputy superintendent for teaching and learning. And that was a really critical time because, during that time, that was when Kevin Maxwell was the superintendent, and there was a big push to expand our specialty programs and academies and things of that nature. That's when, the partnership with Prince George's Community College and our academies of health sciences really started, kicking off and flourishing back in those days. And we added a number of specialty programs and gifted, talented programs and so forth. And a lot of that came through the work of the teaching and learning department. I left Prince George's County to go become superintendent in Nashville, Tennessee. I did that for 3 years before going to Fordham University, where I was a visiting associate professor in educational leadership, teaching in the doctoral program. And then I actually came back to Howard University, and that's where I've been for the past 5 years at Howard, teaching the politics of education and an urban education class and an educational technology course. And then I co-direct the Urban Superintendents Academy, which over the course of 5 years, we placed 23 superintendents around the country. In addition to that, I've been a consultant with Hazard Young and Associates, which is the largest search firm in the country. And so we've been supporting, placing and supporting large district superintendents around the country, including Atlanta Public Schools, Clark County, which is Nevada, Las Vegas, Nevada's superintendent recently. We did Montgomery, Alabama, Rochester, New York, Paterson, New Jersey. So, to be back at the saddle is a joy as I've been helping people for the past 5.5, 6 years. But when I think about the excellence in District 6, you have a very proud community comprised of Largo, Capitol Heights, and surrounding areas. And you're a district that's known for its deep roots, traditions, and belief in the power of education. If there were two words to describe District 6, it would be for me pride and legacy. District 6 schools have been a launching pad for a lot of local leaders and reflects generations of family commitment and investment. From your creative performing arts programs to STEM, language immersion, tag, Montessori, and more, your schools honor the past while preparing students to lead in the future. As I just shared, District 6 is home to Maryland's first early middle college, the Academy of Health Sciences at Prince George's Community College. And your students are earning both high school diplomas and associate's degrees, and that's done at absolutely no cost, excuse me. And the rigorous dual enrollment model is preparing students for careers in health science and education, and through its teacher academy, and showing what's possible when we reimagine the high school experience. I mean, I think the academy is a model, and I'd love to see us dramatically expanding the amount of students in Prince George's County getting those dual enrollment courses. And that's something we're really going to try to focus on this year. In addition, you're also setting the standard for our youngest learners in District 6. I mean, you have Capitol Heights Elementary School, which is a tag center and a four-star Maryland report card school where students are consistently high performing and there's a strong school culture and family and community involvement there. You've got Pullen Creative and Performing Arts School, which attracts students from all across the county with acclaimed dance, theater, music, and visual arts and media programs. And then again, you've got Phyllis Wheatley Spanish Immersion Program. So students don't just learn another language, they actually are living it. Students are taught all core subjects in Spanish, and by fifth grade, many are on track for bilingual fluency and global readiness. The language immersion track continues as students transition to Kettering Middle School, where a growing number of eighth grade students are qualifying for the Maryland State Seal of Biliteracy, and that's a big deal. Spanish immersion students can then transition to the immersion program at Largo High School. And of course, to our Lions of Largo High School, you just embody the pride and legacy of District 6, and you offer opportunities for achievement in academics, the arts, and athletics. You've got advanced placement courses, dual enrollment courses, the Peer Forward Club, and Largo has cultivated a college-going culture there, which is awesome. And I know that our county executive is extremely proud of Largo High School, and it's one of the biggest roaring lions out there. You've got your Academy of Finance that prepares students for careers in business, supply chain, and accounting. And again, the Academy of Health and Biosciences, are equipping students for healthcare professional futures and getting them college credits. You've got the Largo Choir, which is performed at some of the nation's most prestigious stages, along with award-winning authors. And on the court, the men's basketball team has brought home back-to-back Maryland Class A2 state titles, a proud tradition of athletic excellence. And I'm looking forward to getting to some of the basketball games. One of the things I share, my first cousin is on the aside, is Dwight Howard. And I'm going to see if Dwight can come and see if he can give our boys some work, out there. He just got inducted into the Basketball Hall of Fame recently, and he's retired now, so he ain't got nothing to do. So I'm gonna tell him to come on out and see what we can do with you all. But right next door, you've got the International High School at Largo, where students and staff are like families. And the international school model provides intensive English language support along with academic support to prepare our multilingual learners, including many who have just come to this country for college and career. Everybody's concerned about the buildings and construction. So I just want to give you a quick update on what's happening in District 6 from what I know, right? And, just a reminder, Prince George's County has the second oldest building stock in the state. Over half of our schools are 50 years old. We've had a very huge backlog, in fact, an $8 billion backlog. And, the county has been moving to try to accelerate getting our buildings updated. And they've done that through the Blueprint School P3 public-private partnership using our CIP construction and the modernization work. The new Walker Mill Middle School was completed in just about 2.5 years under phase one of our Blue Schools program. So that's a little bit about District 6, but you can come here to hear me rattle all that stuff off. I know you've got a bunch of questions. So I'll turn it over to Dr. Jackson so I could begin answering some questions that you may have for me.
Thank you, Dr. Joseph. Our first question is actually from, I think, a former board member, Jocelyn Root. And she says, I'm so excited to hear about the Chipmunk app. Can you please explain the pilot and the rollout for students with a 504 plan enrolled at a specialty school and who may not have transportation included in the 504 plan?
Yes, yes. So we're excited about, Chipmunk too. Look, we know transportation has been a challenge in Prince George's County schools, and quite frankly, even as we move into this year, it's going to be challenging to start because we still have 137 bus vacancies. But one thing we're going to do is make sure we communicate clearly because that's about 600 bus routes that are going to be impacted this year, that are going to it's going to take a little time and patience to get students to and from, and we're working actively. But to answer your question with the Chipmunk app, Chipmunk will allow us to better track where the bus is and where students are as we're moving. We're going to start the pilot in with our special education buses to start the school year. And then if it goes well, we're going to expand it across all schools. We've put about 1,200 additional tablets to buses this year to improve GPS accuracy. And we're going to be piloting transportation hubs at 3 specialty schools to reduce time and improve punctuality. We've also doubled the amount of staff that'll be answering phones and supporting families because, we can take about 1,000 calls a day previously, but that just wasn't enough when you get about 6,000 calls coming in. So we're increasing the amount of people who are going to be answering phones. And we've also hired non-CDL van drivers to expand contracted services. We're working hard right now. We're not just giving up at 137 students, but I know it's going to impact the beginning of the year because it takes about 6 weeks to get a bus driver from the time they apply and we say, yes, we want to hire you, to getting them trained and getting them their licenses and getting them prepared to be on the road. But we're actively recruiting. You should be hearing as early as next week radio ads and social media ads and us really pushing to get some more drivers. We're focusing on staff in the district who don't make the money that a bus driver makes. And we're also really targeting entrepreneurs and some of the police officers and firefighters and others who might have flexible schedules, who probably could do a part-time job because our benefits are excellent. And we're focusing on highlighting the benefits package and supporting, our bus drivers make about $20 an hour, from $20 to $43 an hour. And we're working to make sure we get them paid and engaged and through the process. But it's going to take, some time. We have over 1,000 bus drivers. So, with 137 being short, it is going to have some impact in some areas. We'll make sure we communicate to you where those challenges are. Yes.
Thank you. The next question is from Ryan Reed. Her question is, how will you support leadership development to ensure that the best school leaders are leading our schools?
That's a great question. I just spoke with Dr. Melissa Ellis yesterday and Dr. Christy Matthews just about this topic. One, we made sure that the training is going back into a centralized office so we can focus. One of the things I want us to get back to that we kind of moved away from was ensuring that when we have an assistant principal, that assistant principal is getting direct targeted support based upon our state standards that we have for administrators here, that they're working directly with the instructional director, their principal, and central office support, really addressing problems of practice and creating cultures to give some feedback. So we're working to do that. My goal is to really push aspiring leaders and get back into an assistant principal 1 year, assistant principal 2 year, giving students an internship opportunity before we place them as principals. But we used to do that. We went away from it, but I want us to go back because we've got to cultivate excellence and ensure that people know what our expectations are. I believe Board Chair Jackson is with us now, Dr. Jackson. If so, I'd love to uh, let him come up and speak.
And I am asking one of my colleagues to make sure that he's assigned to be a panelist.
Yes.
Welcome, board chair.
Hello. I wanted to ask about the questions of me.
I'm sorry. May I stop you? We thought you were the board chair, Brandon Jackson. So your question will have to be asked in the Q&A box, but thank you. So until board chair Jackson comes in, we'll go back to your Q&A, Dr. Joseph. One of
Yeah.
our principals, Latanya Southern, writes, as I speak with my colleagues, my principal colleagues, many of them report that kindergarten attendance rates have been depressed across the district, more than any other compensatory grade level.
Yeah.
With the new MSDE literacy law in effect that indicates that students who are not able to read by the end of the third grade may be retained. Her question is, how will the district support messaging to parents from the top so that we can make sure that our students are getting in and getting the support that they need?
Yeah. One, we definitely, I stressed to the staff, so I guess since week 2, when I realized we were not giving reading assessments across the district and communicating to parents where students were in relationship to, normative data. So knowing, we should be able to let a parent know their child is reading 80%, reading better than 80% of students or reading 80% worse, but where are they? That's important. So making sure we're communicating to parents accurately where their children are, and then making sure that you as a principal have the resources to um, provide students additional supports where they are is critically important to me. And so we'll be working with principals to make sure you've got the programming that's needed. One of the things I've spoken to Dr. Jackson about is as we think about the national PTA's 6 areas of parent engagement where parents can make a difference. One of the things we're going to be pushing this year and stressing are parent academies to help parents support their children in reading and mathematics, helping them understand what our standards are, giving them materials and support so they can reinforce learning. And I want to look at where we're doubling down with the high dosage tutoring as well. And I think if we do those things, we'll be in best position to make sure if students are behind, they have opportunities to catch up because we have to figure out how to accelerate students.
Thank you, Dr. Joseph. The next question is from an anonymous attendee. We're seeing a steady increase in our autistic student population across all districts. With what specific measurable steps do you plan to take to ensure that these students receive appropriate individualized supports and that our special educators, teachers, paraprofessionals, and therapists are fully equipped and resourced to do this work sustainably and without burnout?
Yes, yes. We do have some autism programs in the district, but I need to make sure that those autism programs are, well staffed and supported. I know that this is an area of focus for us. One of the things I'm doing is putting out dashboards to monitor where staffing, because we're in corrective action with special education right now, and I think a lot of it has to do with our historic lack of staffing for our special education students, both with teachers and with paraeducators. So I'm monitoring where staffing vacancies occur very closely. And we have to make sure, particularly if we have substitutes in the building, that they know what to do to provide the supports, the unique supports that are needed for our autism students, as well as our other students with other disabilities. That's really important. So we'll be monitoring and making sure we have a plan for training and support. We have the resources to do what needs to be done. We've just got to monitor closely and follow up on it. And I'll be working and speaking with the special education parent advisory, to hear from you what your experiences are, and so we can really double down and follow up. I mean, we must do a better job with our special education services. I think I've been speaking with Trinell Bowman, Dr. Bowman. Day one, that was one of the first calls that I made because I was aware that we were in corrective action to really look at our plans, and she's been doing a great job of making sure we are adequately resourced and prepared for this upcoming year, both to make sure that we get caught up in compliance with IEP goals and the development of IEPs, but also making sure that the staffing is appropriate and that the training will be there for our students.
Thank you. The next question, a parent states that they have a child who has had 3 years of Chinese in
Hmm,
middle school.
great.
However, no high schools have Chinese. What will happen to these children when they start high school? Is foreign language even required in high school?
Well, that's interesting. We used to have a high school Chinese program because I remember um, when I was deputy superintendent back in the 2014-2016 year, we hosted a group from China, and I had signed an MOU to have a partnership with a city in China. I believe it was at Parkdale High School, Dr. Jackson, if my
That's
memory
correct. Yes.
if my
Yes.
memory serves me. So Parkdale should have a high school program for them to continue learning Chinese, um, unless something has changed.
Thank you. We have another anonymous attendee, that their statement is that District 6 is in one of the most affluent counties in the country, yet the majority of parents send their children to private schools. So these parents who have social and financial resources and connections are not participating in our district or in our county, or they're moving to another county. What is the plan to attract more parents to our neighborhood schools?
No, it's a great question, and this is one of the reasons why, I've made parent engagement one of the number one priorities, out of the gate. What I would say is that we've got to get parents in our schools to see what's actually happening. A lot of parents have kind of checked out of the district years ago, or the rumor mill. They haven't been in our schools to make a informed decision. It's just become vogue to send kids away. So one of the things I want to do is start having open houses in all of our schools for current parents and for people who may be in private schools to just come take a look. Look, if you're spending 20, 30, 40, $50,000 a year to send your kid to private school, if you're doing 50,000 a year over 12 years, that's $600,000 you have spent, and if you're sending your kids to, some of our great, local school universities like University of Maryland or Bowie State University, Morgan State, Howard, Towson, University of Maryland, Baltimore County, and the likes, or some of our national places, some of the Ivy Leagues and so forth. I argue our kids are going to those same places. And you've got to ask yourself, if you would have took that $50,000 and put it in a mutual fund, over the course of those 12 years, you'd make your kid a millionaire by the time they're out of school when you put the compound interest on it. I mean, it's worth asking, what are you getting for putting them in a private school when our schools do equally as well? It's one of the reasons I'm going to be establishing this Where Are They Now website, because I want to start highlighting all the great places and all the things our kids who are graduating from our schools are doing. I think we've got to get that positive messaging and narrative out because I think many families are working on assumption, not fact. And I want to at least give them the opportunity to think about this, I mean, yeah, because it's difficult. I mean, I know, I've got two kids. One went to Howard University, the other is a junior at Spelman. And, I've pay for both of them to go. And that 50, 60,000 a year, is not easy. And if I were spending that, for these years, it'd be at a detriment, but because, I put my kids through regular public schools, my kids graduated from college, each one of them, I've been able to buy them each a house, right? Because the dollars that I had, I could put in. I think parents need to think about that and think about what is the return on investment for what they're putting in. And I think if we have parents looking at the great things that are happening, like any kid that goes to Largo High School or goes to our, Academy of Health Sciences or any of the high schools in District 6 can get a top-notch education and go, to any school they want to go to in the country. I think we've got to put it out there though and let folks know where our kids are going. And if we do that, I think, and if parents actually came in and looked at what was happening in our schools, I think, we could recoup some of them.
Thank you, Dr. Joseph. Donna Kemp, who's a parent at Phyllis E. Williams Spanish Immersion, is asking about the completion of a construction project that started is going into 3 years, but 3 years ago they were told it would be 1 year, then it went to two. She's asking, can you please speak to how we're managing contractors, the steps that are being taken to improve transparency and communication with families?
Yes, I would need more information to be honest. I mean, I know we have Mr. Washington who's over our construction and seems to be on top of things. But a lot of times with construction, there are things that happen particularly in recent years, as we've had, coming out of the pandemic and we've had supply chain challenges. But if she sent me an email at superintendent@pgcps.org with the question about her specific construction issue, I'll promise to respond with an answer. I just have to send it to the appropriate people, Mr. Um, Washington and so forth, because I just don't have that answer.
Thank you, sir. The next question from Latoya Crow is, how do you plan to handle school crowding, low test scores, and high teacher, staff, or administrator turnover?
Okay. So turnover, I'll start with turnover. Turnover, first and foremost, we have to begin ensuring that our staff are well. Since I've been here, it's in my first week, I met with our head of benefits to talk about a wellness plan right out of the gate for all staff. We've got to make sure staff are mentally, emotionally well. I think we have to continue to increase compensation. I'm very happy that we were able to come to a tentative agreement with PGCEA, and our starting salaries now are over $60,000, which is a year ahead of what was expected by our new legislation. And we're working on issues of culture. I mean, I think if we address the culture, address the pay, and focus on wellness, I think we'll begin to address retention issues. Overcrowding is a challenge because we are limited by our capital improvement budget and the work that we're doing with the P3. So, I mean, we can, if necessary, look at boundary options. I know nobody likes that, but if it's something that can help relieve pressure, because I haven't gone through all the schools yet to see are there pockets of low enrollment that can mitigate some of the over enrollment. But even if we look at that, I mean, that would be a year out. It wouldn't affect anything this year. And what was the very first thing, Dr. Jackson, that they asked a question about?
I'm sorry, I'm scrolling back. The question was
I got overcrowding. We got,
overcrowding, low test scores, high
oh,
teacher and staff
okay.
administrative turnover.
Got it. So for low test scores, step one, we've got to know where kids are in reading and mathematics and science, right? So we have to have measures, and we have to know, are kids making adequate growth? And so we have our accountability and research team doing those analyses right now to see, for students who came to school most days, did they grow appropriately? If not, then we stop and we look at why not, and work with those schools in a more intensive manner to address the root cause of those issues. We also are going to look to see where kids are growing at greater rates than expected, to look in those schools to see, are there practices and things happening in those schools that are not happening in some of the other schools. I think we've got to address both student attendance and staff attendance, because at a basic level, if students or staff are not in school, then that's a major contributor to low academics and performance. And then we also have to make sure we're investing in curriculum and resources that are making a difference. So I've also had the research team right now reviewing what we're spending our Title I dollars on and what we're doing in our community schools, so I can get a better assessment of the millions of dollars that we spend on curriculum and all these other things. Is it making a difference or not? And if not, we're going to stop using it. If so, we're going to work to expand it. And I think if we focus on that, and if we focus on high quality professional development for both teachers, principals, and staff, and if we continue to implement our curriculum, and we get our schools moving in a plan, do, study, act cycle, and improve the quality of feedback that we're giving both to teachers and students, and closely monitor performance, we'll see better outcomes. I mean, we know what it takes to improve in academic achievement. All right. Research has been clear for decades, right? That you need strong parent engagement, you need instructional leadership from teachers and principals, you need a safe environment, you need a climate of high expectations, you need a clear vision. You've got to be clear about how you use time, and you got to be clear about what you frequently monitor. I mean, Larry Lazat and Ron Edmonds talked about that stuff in the 60s, and that research has stood the test of time. We've just got to implement on it.
Thank you. Tasha asks, what precautions will the schools be taking to protect our children from ICE raids?
Yeah. Yeah, there's a lot of worry about that. Just yesterday, I was on Telemundo, and that was a question that came from a lot of our immigrant families. The answer is we do have plans for if ICE were to come into the district. Our principals know that they should send, immediately reach out to my office, and my office will connect with the attorney's office, and we'll make sure that if they were to come in, that they had the proper warrants and things that they would need by Maryland state law. Our schools are safe, and we're not just allowing people to just come in and do anything without it being legally able, to be done. Our stance is we protect our children. We make sure that they're safe in buildings, and we follow the law. So we'll be putting communications out to all of our principals at the beginning of the year and all of our staffs, so everybody is really clear about what to do in those situations.
Thank you. We have two questions back to back. Both are dealing with special education.
Yep.
One of them asks questions about students who are in autism classrooms who get to school late and therefore miss time from the amount of time that they're supposed to have in class due to their IEP. So that's a question. The second question,
Just on that. So what is the actual
okay.
question on that one? I'm
So the
sorry.
question is, will students with special needs be prioritized with bus routes because of those with autism who
Hmm.
need a certain number of hours in their IEP?
Yes. Okay. So the answer to that, we're starting. Yes, that's why we're starting the Chipmunk application with our special education, and we are prioritizing. And we've also added some vans and buses because a lot of our special education buses have many fewer students in them. So by adding the buses, adding the vans, and focusing there, yes, we hope to make sure that there are very few special education routes that are vacant. That is something we will focus on.
Thank you, sir. This next question about special ed is asking, is it possible to hire outside vendors and tutors to fill in gaps in schools that are short-staffed for special education?
Yes, and I do know that Dr. Bowman has been working to procure um, some services to be able to have certified special education teachers to provide additional supports that come on a consultative basis.
Thank you. Um, uh, Another question is this one is, well, I think you answered this one when you talked about school crowding. So let me skip that one. Um, this one, the next one is, will there be any adjustments regarding grading policy for the 25-26 school year?
Yes, we do have a committee that's going to be looking at the grading policy beginning this semester. Dr. Judith White is leading that effort, our chief academic officer, and she's going to work with both principals and teachers to come up with some recommendations. Those recommendations will be sent out, and families will have an opportunity to provide feedback as well as students and parents.
Thank you. Another attendee asked, have you taken a look at the Code of Student Conduct to see if it truly reflects a system that has a low tolerance for discipline, that disrupts the learning environment?
Yes.
How can we address this to make sure that our parents are more accountable for children's behavior?
Yes, I spoke with Dr. Liz Faison, who's over our student services. That was our first conversation talking about our discipline handbook. And then also, one of the things that I'm challenged with is that we don't have clear expectations in terms of a behavioral framework across the district that we use. And that's something I challenged her to come back to me with recommendations on what we can do in terms of resourcing. The state used to resource for PBIS, positive behavior intervention and supports. That funding went away, but it has to be a priority for us. I've been clear as I've spoken with Dr. Marrow, who's our chief of schools, that the adults have to run our buildings, and we can't allow students who come in, disrupt, and are violent to remain in a comprehensive school. We have to support them and give them what they need. But if they demonstrate they can't uh, maintain in a traditional school and ensure that they're safe and not disrupting, if they can't assure that, they can't be in that school, and we'll have to lock down on that and work with principals and individuals' families to make sure that that message is clear.
Thank you, Dr. Joseph. We have a question that is lengthy about special education, and I think you had an earlier question. Is there an opportunity for parents to address special education issues directly? I think you mentioned CCAC, the Special Education Citizens Advisory Council.
Yes, we got to make sure we get information out about that. And like I know special education has to be and will be a system-wide priority for us. Again, we're in corrective action because I think a lot of it had to do with the shortages in staffing that we had. But yes, it has to be a priority. And CCAC is the official parent vehicle for communication.
Thank you. Dr. Joseph, we had a student join us who says that they have joined the Junior Honor Society
Hmm.
and they're excited, but they were wondering if that changes their schedule or their grades. That's a good question. Is there someone that they could ask that question of?
Yeah, if you email me at superintendent@pgcps.org, I'll get you an answer to that. I don't know off the top of my head, but congratulations. That's a huge honor. My
Thank
daughter
you.
was on was on it, and I just don't remember how it worked with her.
Thank you. The next question, in your 100-day plan, you emphasize improving culture and climate by strengthening stakeholder trust. How will you ensure that the voices of families of students with disabilities, particularly those who've experienced repeated breakdowns in support, are not only heard, but acted upon in a transparent and measurable way?
Yeah, again, the Special Education Advisory Council, CCAC, is the place to be for those type of issues, and we're committed to just following through. I mean, it's our primary responsibility to make sure that our special education students are getting their IEP needs met, and so we have I've spoken with Dr. Bowman, who's the head of special education, to ask her what are the additional supports that are needed, and we have to make it a system priority to put those resources there, so we follow up adequately. And she's been actively working to do some of that. I think we probably need to have Dr. Jackson, just from there's been so much interest, and rightfully so, about our special education work, that we probably should have some separate meetings just for special education families to hear and address some of the concerns that are out there.
Thank you, Dr. Joseph. And as we're planning for this year's Family Institute
Yes.
schedule, special education is a topic of one of the ones that are starting out the school year. So as
Yeah.
soon as that is ready to be published, we will share it with all families.
Thank
Thank
you.
you for that. Janice Cornish is asking us, just for clarification, when you say autism program, are you referring to autism level 1, autism level 2, or 3, which are known as high functioning scholars? So can you talk a little bit about the differences between those different levels?
I cannot speak I cannot speak in detail about the different levels. I would have to have Dr. Bowman present to be able to do that. Again, I know we have autism programs within the district, and I know we have some rooms with I think there are some new sensory rooms and things of that nature. I just don't have enough detail to be specific. But again, we can schedule a time to connect with Dr. Bowman, who could answer those type of questions in specific detail.
Thank you. As a matter of fact, special education is planning I think they call it a resource fair for parents. That's going to happen on August 14th. So please stay tuned. That information will be coming out shortly. And that hopefully those questions can be answered at that event.
Mhm.
Um, uh, Let me see. Okay, here's a parent. We have some students in tonight, and I thank them for being here and being attentive. But their question was, should I leave and let my parents come in? And I I appreciate that. Um, let's see. Uh,
Yeah, it's great
as
to have 190 people on call too. It just shows the commitment and activism of District 6.
Absolutely, absolutely. Question from Devin Duggins. Last year, Governor Moore released the Enough grant. That was a place-based grant that would have provided up to 3 million for local organizations to wrap around schools with poverty levels above 80%. Organizations willing to support these schools received pushback from principals and community school coordinators. Is there anything that you could do to see if we can still take advantage of these funds?
Yeah, I'm not aware. I'm not aware of that. So if you email superintendent@pgcps.org, I can get more information and inquire and follow up with you. But
Thank you.
I do look, I do hear a lot that, our schools have not been parent friendly or nonprofit community support friendly. And that's going to be a message that I give to our principals up front. And it's one of the reasons, I'm communicating to our Board of Education that we have to revisit our parent engagement, community engagement policy because I think we have to make the language stronger in our policy to set the expectation across the district that as a district, we expect schools to be much more open and welcoming to the partnership. And we have to, and that's why, Dr. Jackson, I've, charged you up front. I know you have your action plan that you are developing for us to work with schools to ensure a welcoming environment. It's important.
Absolutely. And thank you. And we look forward to sharing that information. We have a question about are there any specific strategies that we could help with to increase teacher retainment in schools?
When we say we, who's we?
Parents could support schools and schools themselves. How do we increase retainment?
Yeah, I mean, I think we definitely have to focus on culture. I think we need to help celebrate our teachers and staff across the board. I mean, from bus drivers to teachers to secretaries. I mean, I think it sometimes feels like an overwhelming, job where people don't appreciate what we ask teachers to do. We put a lot on them, excuse me. And I don't think we say thank you and provide resource and give teachers and staff the resources they need to make the job feel doable. And so, something in terms of what parents can do. I mean, I think working with the principal to come up with activities to provide support and maybe volunteering in schools and figuring out things that we can do to take some of the burden that teachers feel off of them, some of the administrative stuff that they're doing would be helpful. And I know, we're exploring the use of AI to support with some of the workload issues that they have. But I think if people see we're actively seeing them, understanding and empathizing with what they're going through and making adjustments based upon what we're hearing and seeing and resourcing towards things, I think that all can increase with retention.
Thank you, Dr. Joseph. Kanisha Ford asked us, what is our plan for maintaining the physical plant at schools, especially the outside? She said she's seen grass cut and clippings left on the sidewalk, grass and weeds growing. Is there a plan for improved grounds maintenance at our schools?
Yeah, my priority 6 is on operations, and that's a big part of it. Like, what are our plans to pay attention to those details? I mean, curb appeal matters. I think nobody wants to. I mean, you can have an old building, but an old building can be clean. An old building can be, kept up and, grass cut, weeds, pruned, hedges trimmed, and we just have to do a better job of being on top of that work, and that's something I've been pushing Dr. Coleman, who's our Chief Operating Officer, about as we prepare to open school and maintain throughout the year.
Thank you. There's a question about creating a dedicated tag school for middle school. I believe some exist, Dr. Joseph, but
Yeah.
could you speak to that?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, we have some. I know there's an appetite for more. It'd have to be a board priority where we budget towards it and identify what's needed where. But that would be a conversation that would happen with the board. And if that were something that were prioritized and budgeted towards, we'd move towards it as we think about tag and the multitude of other competing interests in the district. I mean, that's why my priority one in the 100-day plan is strategic alignment, working with the board to say, so what are we going to tackle first, second, and third with the resources we have? So I know there's an appetite within the community with issues related to tag at the middle school level and other things, and that would be worthy of discussion.
Thank you. From a parent, they said, I noticed that my child's school rarely gives homework, and I believe the parents need to know how far kids have no how much their children have learned. How do we improve that? He wants more homework.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, homework should reinforce learning. You're gonna have um uh, differences by school and by teacher related to that. Again, it is a worthy district level conversation about what's the expectation for homework. We've not had that yet. I don't know if there are district level expectations or requirements either way, but it's something we can discuss.
Thank you.
And I'm
Uh,
sure your kids really appreciated that question.
they're probably listening, going, no.
Right.
We have a message from a parent who said that parents in District 6 are concerned about fighting, violence, and drug use in schools. What can we do to ensure that school environments are safe?
Yeah, safety is a big issue, and I know the district has made significant investments in safety in previous years. I mean, I know they've increased the amount of metal detectors and weapon detection technology across schools, particularly in the middle schools and high schools. I know we still have the clear bag policy for high schools. I know we've made significant investments in mental health supports. The drug issue is a big deal, particularly in the state of Maryland, where cannabis has been legalized for recreational use, which means kids have a lot more access than ever before. What we have to do is be clear with students about the consequences of bringing drugs or alcohol into buildings, and if students make bad choices, then they are going to have to deal with the consequences that come with those bad choices. But they should know beforehand, and we should communicate to them and stress, don't do it because this consequence is going to be severe if you do. I think as it relates to fighting and so forth, we've just got to do a better job with providing the mental health supports and to many of our kids. I mean, since the pandemic, I can tell you across the nation, because I've been working with school systems across the nation, we've seen a major uptick in aggression. I don't know what that year or two did with students in terms of their socialization, or I don't know what the cause is, but we've seen the uptick in aggression, and we have invested in additional mental health supports, right? We have um, a telehealth, Hazel Health, that can provide mental health supports virtually free for students. And we've got a multitude of different health centers where people can get counseling and support. We've got to get kids access to those issues prior to them, demonstrating, aggressive behaviors. But we cannot tolerate, violence in our schools in any shape or form, whether it be physical, or emotional. Students just have to be clear. If you make those bad decisions, there are consequences that come with it because you cannot disrupt other students and you can't harm other students without significant consequence.
Thank you, Dr. Joseph. I am going to ask us if we could pause answering questions right now. It is 7 o'clock. I just wanted to make sure that you get an opportunity to provide some information to our parents that are here, and it will also give us an opportunity to answer some of the remaining questions. Many of them look like questions that are going to be covered in your presentation.
Thank you. So very quickly, my 100-day plan has 6 different areas. If we put it back up on the screen, the first area is just strategic engagement, which focuses on working with the board. As a board and administration, we have to figure out what we want to do first, second, and third. We have to be clear about how we communicate. And we have to, identify what will success look like over the course of the year. So that's where the board and I are working to identify times to meet monthly to really engage so we can have a real coordinated effort to improve our district. As we go to priority 2, that's about talent. And, we've got to make sure that we're adequately staffed. We hire about 1,000 teachers a year, which is a huge task. And we've got to make sure we know where there are vacancies and are actively working throughout the year to fill those vacancies. So, we're going to have dashboards that are up for me to be able to easily monitor where we have vacancies and continue to push and work. I've also, in the 100-day plan, talked about exploring virtual options. If we don't have a certified teacher in a building, is there a way to have a virtual certified teacher in the building with people in classes to provide support? And we've got to use technology to address those gaps. As talent, area 2 also focuses on our culture and climate. We've got to build strong relationships with our unions and really partner to ensure that we have cultures that that are good for teaching and learning. When we go to priority area 3, if you can switch the slide here. That's focused on academics. Again, for me, in this first 100 days, it's about understanding why our data is the way it is. Where are we seeing success? Where are we seeing challenges? And understanding the root cause of those challenges. So, I'm also locking in on looking at where we're spending our money and are we getting a return on investment for our money. And so in this time, and I'm particularly looking at our most challenged areas, specifically special education, our multilingual learners, our students who live in poverty. I mean, those 3 groups of students in particular, have had challenges in our district, and I want to understand why and what needs to be done, and then put tighter monitoring around, what we're doing. I mean, we have to be a culture of high accountability, but high support. And I think, in recent years, we've had, high accountability and low support, and in some instances, low accountability and low support. And that results in stagnant performance. I think for us, it's sort of like playing a game of whack-a-mole. We see growth in some areas and we see challenges in others. And the way the state, uh, designates schools and puts schools on lists, it can be just for one particular student group. So we have to have a plan that really gets at all student groups as we do our work. And I think, from what our preliminary data suggests, we haven't had a robust plan to address our most vulnerable students. And so part of my 100-day plan is thinking about how we best support our most vulnerable students while preserving and accelerating, our students who are doing well and thriving. So, we have to take a bifurcated approach. And right now, I've just been deep in data, asking questions, thinking, and as teachers and principals come back, we'll have to put plans in place that we believe can help us move forward. And then as we move to area 4, which is the blueprint, we're blessed to be in Maryland, a state that has contributed an additional $3 billion to public education. I mean, that is unheard of in these times. And but with those dollars come some expectations and some accountability. And my 100-day plan is really looking at where is Prince George's County to the expectations that the state has set for us. So, this year our strategic plan is up. So we'll be once we transition from our first 100 days, we're going to be moving into a strategic planning process. As we move into the strategic planning process, we have to make sure the goals and expectations of the blueprint for Maryland's future are a part of that plan. Right now, we've been working with 2 separate plans, and we really should just have one plan that addresses the expectations for the Maryland blueprint and also what we as Prince George's County feel is important and essential. Next slide. Area 5. And again, community engagement is huge. So I'm out. We have our 9 virtual sessions, but we're going to follow up with 9 in-person sessions. So I look forward to hearing more from families. I mean, we got to listen deeply. So we put plans in place that address the concerns of our parents, our students, our stakeholders. And so in the first 100 days, I'm just working to really listen deeply and try to understand as much as I can and begin to put plans in place, but also working to reestablish the structures that are needed for effective engagement. A lot of times engagement doesn't happen because we don't have clear structures for people to know how to help. And so, working with Dr. Jackson, we're thinking intently about how to do that strategically and effectively. And so, we'll come out of those 100 days with some real clear structures for us to continue to work together throughout our time together. Next slide, which is priority 6, which is operations. And for operations, as we said, I'm looking at not only efficiency and how we spend dollars, what we're spending on, what's the return on investment. I'm also looking at our facilities and operations to make sure we're addressing some of the things. I mean, again, many of our buildings are over 50 years old, so there are problems. I mean, we have to monitor the HVA systems, plumbing, electrical systems, you know, mm, and we also have to, air conditioning, I know is a big issue. It was a big issue 9 years ago, and I think it's still a big issue. And many of our schools are not, do not have central air. And so we have to make sure that all of the equipment is working and we're ordering all materials and we're ready for the opening of school. Like you said, like one of the people said earlier, just little things like making sure the grass is cut, the buildings are clean, I don't take for granted that that just happens. We have to monitor and make sure we're out and about and those things are getting done. So in the first 100 days, that's what we are prioritizing. So those are the 6 areas that I'm focused on. It was never meant to be all inclusive. Like it was simply these are areas that it just helps me start and focus. But I know there's much more that needs to be done. So when we come out of the 100-day plan, we'll go into the strategic planning process. And the strategic plan is much more comprehensive and will get at some of the things that are, blatantly missing here, like school safety, um, and student wellness and things of that nature. So yes, I'll turn it back over to you, Dr. Jackson, for us to answer a few more questions, if there are any out there.
Thank you, Dr. Joseph. There are a few more, but I also want to use this opportunity to let our participants know that if we are unable to answer all questions tonight, we will be hosting an in-person District 6 session where you can come and ask questions live of the superintendent and your board member who will be there together. So we will answer a few more. I know that there was an unforeseen occurrence that's going to pull our superintendent away a little bit before time, but we're going to answer as many questions as we can. Um, so here's one about is it possible, is it feasible to have a vendor provide workshops or professional development sessions for school staff, especially those working in Spanish immersion programs, to help educators better understand and support students with dyslexia?
Yes,
Any
it is
thoughts on that?
feasible.
Yeah, thank you, thank you. We have a question about, oh, the proposed relocation of the Sasser Administration Building. Are we going to revisit that plan? A replacement for Sasser?
So talks, there are talks. I don't have a definitive answer at this moment.
All right. Let me see. I was trying to get through. Some of these are duplicates, and I do apologize. I'm trying to combine some for you so that we can cover as many as we can. Um, Here's a question. What will there be a reduction in the amount of assessments given to students and more time for instruction this year?
We do have an assessment committee that reviews assessments per Maryland state law. What I will say is, I do want to ensure that all parents know where their kids are performing in reading and mathematics. I do know we give unit assessments, and we have to look at what individual schools are doing, but we'll work to minimize testing, but some testing is necessary.
Thank you. A question here is about how will you hold teachers accountable for adhering to the curriculum that meets the goals of our state?
Yeah, so we're going to work closely with our principals to ensure that they're ensuring that teachers are following their pacing guides. And, we give benchmark assessments, for example, to let us know our kids being taught what they're supposed to be taught in at the times they're supposed to teach them. That's one of the reasons we give those type of assessments, so we can track that progress, see where there are problems, and then be able to provide support. So we'll continue to do that.
Okay. Um, Here's a question about, there is an elementary autism program housed within a comprehensive school. Um, because they need smaller classrooms, they are still being taught grade level curriculum. How can we address this?
I don't know how to answer that question, to be quite honest. If you send me an email at superintendent@pgcps.org, I will forward that question to our special education team for a response.
Thank you. Melissa King asked, and said, over the last few years, we have taken steps to mitigate violence on PGCPS property, clear backpacks, resource officers, etc. Is there any data on whether these steps have reduced violence in our schools?
Well, there's data to show that we have reduced the amount of weapons and things that were showing up in our schools. I don't know at this moment about our discipline data. I've not looked at that yet.
Okay, thank you. And this will be our last question. It's from Cynthia Stafford. Uh, why are schools inconsistent when it comes to charter schools? School funds is what they're talking about. CMIT has been an outstanding facility, but how do we restore fairness in how we fund our schools?
So I just met with the charter school leaders this week. We had a great discussion. We're committed to continuing discussions. Funding did come up, and I know that there are conversations happening at the state level. It's complex, right? Charter schools the system gives some in-kind supports to charters to do things, and I know they are funded at a lesser rate than our traditional schools. And I don't know if that's because there's an expectation that charter schools with their charter school boards fundraise and bring in extra dollars. I know when I spoke with the charter leaders this week, they were communicating that Prince George's County is sort of a philanthropic desert because dollars go to DC, dollars go to Baltimore, but Prince George's has not received funds. And, the state of Maryland is a challenge because of the way our charter school laws are. But right now we're looking and working, and what I explained to them was that I see all of our students who are in our charter schools, who are in our public schools. We're one Prince George's County, and I'm definitely want to do all I can do to support our charter partners, and I'll be visiting our charter schools just like I visit our non-charter. They're a part of the family, and we'll make sure that we're fair and communicative with them.
Thank you so very much, Dr. Joseph. Thank you, all of our participants and our staff that have been here to support us tonight. We know that there are many more questions that I need to find answers for, and we're going to invite all of you to join us live. That date will be published early next week as to when the District 6 in-person meeting will be held to continue the conversation with Dr. Joseph. At this moment, we're going to ask everyone to please look at the chat. We have an end of meeting evaluation that we would like to ask you to please complete for us. We are data driven, and your feedback and input is very important to us. So please complete our evaluation for the evening. And then we will be having a closing video that has additional information and upcoming events for family engagement in Prince George's County Public Schools. So thank you very much for being with us. Sound? Thank you all very much for being with us. You will get a copy of our PowerPoint. We will also be posting this video recording to our PGCPS YouTube site so that you can view it and listen to it again and share it with others in your community. Thank you, and please be on the lookout for the in-person session that will be held in District 6. if we could